Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. If you've got questions, she's got answers, and she provides those answers, I do believe, from people who have passed on, people, her spirit guides, all of that. She is a spiritual medium. She uses energy. She helps you with transformation. She helps you with manifestation. And she is the perfect Rose. Well, that's the name of her business. I assume her name is Rose, and she's with us. How are you? How are you doing today?
I'm fabulous, Steve. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so glad you're here. Lots to talk about. Um, the perfect Rose. Love the name. You are Rose. How did that name come up?
Okay, so first, I think I got to give a little bit of background. Ever since I was a kid, I knew I came to assist, but I didn't necessarily know how that was going to happen. So I used to joke and say, I helped little old ladies cross the street. I figured that was helping people, So, but so years later, I would go on my spiritual journey on a deeper level, and I was at a workshop, and that's where I got my mission. It was told to me by the angels, and then after that, I was shown a piece of my mission, which was going to be this deck called the Perfect Rose deck, and it was going to be my whole journey, the Perfect Rose deck. And it was going to be my whole journey of my spirituality, kind of helping people heal themselves and sharing it with others. So then I decided to call my business the Perfect Rose.
When you say deck, are we talking cards like Oracle?
Yes,
Tarot?
basically is going to be an Oracle deck of cards. What I was even like the part that's can be so challenging. I had a vision. So, I had a vision of actually what they were going to look like. It's like they were created already. And there was a rose on it. And actually the rose, it was gold. Like, of course, it had to be pricey. Like, I mean, gold is sparkling gold, the cover. And the rose didn't have thorns on it, though. And it had a specific look. So, but I realized, I think in my heart, our perfection is our connection with God, our higher self, like what we came to earth to be. And this work is really about clearing all of the programs and limitations that have been placed on us by society and things like that. And I consider them the thorns. So the reason why the rose was thornless is my job is to help you eliminate those parts that prevent you from being what you came to earth to be, which is your unique, authentic self, which is like a frequency that you're meant to contribute to the earth itself, because we're all important that way.
And we all have different frequency. If you subscribe to energy, spiritual medium, does that mean that you can connect with those that have passed on to the other side?
Yes. I try to explain to my clients, I do believe there is a difference between mediumship. There are different levels because your brain is not a storage cabinet. It is a transmitter and a receiver. So I'll give you an example. My brother, when he passed away, my girlfriend is gifted too, right? I have a tendency to attract people that are similar to myself, so she tuned into my brother, but she tuned into the thought forms that my brother had before he died, which were a lot of mediums have a tendency to tune into the passed on loved one, a little bit more of what they were like when they were on earth. You see what I'm trying to say? But also I feel like because I dedicated my life to understanding higher metaphysical principles and talking to angels, which are coming from the heavenly realms, when I speak to a passed on loved one, in a lot of cases, I notice they're more in the heavenly realms when I'm talking to them, not necessarily what they were on earth. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah. It's all about energy.
Right.
And just what you said, when somebody passes on, their energy is around us. And sometimes it's stronger, sometimes you pick up on it. So I experienced that in my mom, who passed away 5 years ago. It's like she's here.
Yes, because I think the toughest part for us humans is I'm getting emotional again when you're talking about your mom, though. I think the toughest part for us humans is, see, if you watch them pass and you watch them deteriorate, our natural response when we think of them while we're here physically and they're gone is we remember that painful experience, because that was the last thing that was tied to them in our reality, right? But on the highest level, so we go, oh my God, I must be still grieving. Like, like, am I thinking of her because I'm sad? Like, but actually, you're thinking of them because they're there. But they're there from the heavenly realms. They're there. They're like shining all this light on you. You know what I mean? They don't have that pain anymore. They don't have that stuff anymore. And if we remember them through the painful part, then it's hard for them to get through to us. That's why they need people like me or somebody else to navigate through. So my job is to get my clients and help them to just really understand these laws that are in
Mm.
place, whether we're aware of it or not. They're there, right? And then just you realizing when you're feeling hurt, it's because she's there. And learning to communicate with her where she is, because she has like eyes over you, supervising your life, going, listen, don't trust that person, or go over here, or
I believe it. Um, so I want to reveal to you, uh, my mom's name is Rose.
oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I ask for a sign, I get them, and they're specific. And that being said, can I share something that happened the other day?
Sure.
Okay. I'll laser this down. A friend passed away, very close friend. We worked together on radio for a bunch of years, very successful, the pinnacle of my career. And I've been doing radio since I was a kid. Um, Sudden passing of this person. So I took a walk into town with my dog, and I never take him. And I'm like, yeah, let me just get him out, be around people. It's a town that I pretty much grew up in. My mom worked there, my aunt was there, my grandmother, all of that. And I just vibe my mom. I'm like, just send me a sign. It's been a little rough. Send me a sign. Sit down at a restaurant outside, and they're doing karaoke. And with my dog, I'm just
Uh-oh.
sitting there, just sitting there. Yeah. The first song that somebody, and there's a bazillion songs out there. The first song that somebody selects to sing is The Rose by Bette Midler.
Oh,
And that, somebody could be skeptical and say, well, all right, all right, yeah. Okay. Well, then I thought about it, that song, aside from being my mom's name, song she liked, it came out the year I started in radio. The next song that somebody selected to sing at this karaoke thing was called On the Radio by Donna Summer.
well, I love that song. I love Donna Summer.
And then 2 songs after that, somebody selected from Canada, the band Rush and Spirit of Radio. So in a span of 12 minutes, these 3 songs that my mom, and they're connected to radio and all of that. And to me, I got my sign. I asked for it from mom and she sent it. I can't even deny it. What are your thoughts?
You're like preaching to the choir here. This is just normal to me, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yep.
I know it's not normal to everybody else, right? Like I know it's not normal to everyone. And that's the sad part, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
sad part. I think it's becoming more normal, but
Yeah.
you know, I love it. I love it. That's where trust comes from. Like when I went to the biggest part of my growth, like, when I was taking workshops and things like that, we didn't have the internet too much. So like I actually went to I would get signs like that. You hear the song, you get the number at a place, a book would fall off a shelf, whatever. Like there was those physical, tangible thing. The sad part is Google is designed itself to be like the universe, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of they do it all that way, but it's not exactly how. It's nicer when it comes the other way because it's not forced, right? Because
Sure. Yep.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's organic, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I've gotten signs from her for at least 3 years now. When I ask, I get. I don't overdo it, but yeah. What are the different ways a psychic, a medium, or a reader, like maybe a card reader, reads people?
Well, like, so what I try to explain to my clients, I do think there are different levels of the way readers read, right? So I said, even years ago when I read, I call myself, I'm not a fortune teller. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. I feel like some readers are that. I think also too, if they didn't do a lot of personal work, or if they believe in black magic spells and all that stuff, they're going to read a person differently, and how they approach their work is going to be different than what I have chosen to do. And the reason why is, as I keep growing on my journey, I have to live with an integrity on how I serve my clients, right? So when I'm reading my clients, I actually feel like what it's become for me is I read them where they are, and I can also see a bit about what they've even prayed to the universe, their God, for. And I feel like because I work so closely with angels and their job is to answer prayer, I feel like I'm being given knowledge and information to help them, instead of going into that one trajectory that would have been available to them. I see how we can use this situation and heal it and move past it. And, maybe we have to heal that previous relationship, which will open up for this one so it doesn't have to end. I help them to kind of get a different perspective on things. So that's why I call it a higher potential future, because we're shifting that energy. Like, your souls put you into a position, sometimes a challenging situation. And I feel in my heart that I kind of just know, because I've dedicated my whole life to this, part of growing, that how they can navigate through that and things improve if they want them to.
How did it begin for you, Rose? How did you realize that I've got something, I've got some kind of intuition?
I don't know if I always saw it as psychic. I just know that I was always just interested. I was always just a very deep, introspective, even child. Like, I mean, I remember just being very contemplative. My dad did teach meditation classes, like, so I started meditating and things like that when I was young. 7 years old, 5 years
Wow.
old. A little bit just trying to learn how to do things like that. That doesn't mean I was like I just had a depth beyond maybe the other people in my reality. I had a depth of knowing and understanding beyond that of other people in my reality.
So one of the things you do is read cards. And is it tarot, or is it oracle, or none of the above?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even really use the cards anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
so that's the part. I have tons of decks. Don't get me wrong, but most of them have become oracle. So I started with the tarot when I was 14 or 15, and I'm definitely not that now. And so so I what happened was, there was a certain part of my journey where I prayed for the highest possible reading, because I had come across some information from the life and teachings of the masters of the Far East. These gentlemen went on an expedition, and they met Jesus. He actually manifested into form. Um, so they were taught all these different things. And basically, what was said in it was that you have to be very careful when you do the tarot, because there are some negative cards, and those negative cards can affect people's subconscious minds. Like, I'm sure if you've seen the death card, it kind of freaks you out. I don't care what anyone says. If I see the 10 of swords, I remember when I would do my spreads for myself, like, I'd be like, yeah. I just found, like, the more I did the cards while I was going through a crappy time, it's like the crappy time extended a little bit, you know. so so I prayed for the highest possible reading, and I got led to angelic work. So, then it was more oracle cards. But as I've continued to grow, I have become more of, it's like my guides and everything know every deck I've owned. They know every book I've ever read. They know everything I've ever done. And when I'm working with the client, they're kind of helping me navigate through some of the other experiences I've had, to help me to understand how I'm supposed to serve this person. So I'll get a symbolic vision, you know, of a body of a person. And I'm kind of I'm shown like they're off a little bit in a couple areas, or they're vacillating back and forth, trying to make, they're like a cat chasing their tail. The angels will tell me, or they'll come forward and then they turn back, and then I'll go back to the past, and they'll say they're having a hard time forgiving, but not from this relationship, the relationship prior to that. You see, So I'll be told that just at the beginning, like of the session, just before I'm working with them. So I'll say to my client, does this sound correct to you? Like, I'm getting this about you. I'm getting you like you're like a cat chasing your tail, and the angels say this. Is that correct? And I'd have to say 99% of the time, my clients say yes. By the time they're sitting in front of me, like we're with me, you know.
And is it, when you say correct, is it accurate? Is that what you're saying? Or does
Yeah,
it
like that,
resonate with you?
does that feel like that's what's happening to you? Because this is
Gotcha.
what I'm getting, right? You know what I mean? This is what I'm getting. And then like I say, they'll say, yeah, come to think of it. Yeah. And I said, okay, then I know I'm tuning into you correctly, right? Because then it just tells me that I'm tuning into them correctly, right? Because my intention with them is to serve them, right? But also I feel like I actually am working for, let's face it, how often can you ignore, like, when you want to see your mom, it's great. But if you're in a different mood, or you can ignore your mom or your angels too, right? See, like, I'm sitting there, they're coming to me for assistance, but they can't ignore me because I'm not, because I'm sitting across from them, kicking their butts sometimes.
Yep. Can you share like something that may have happened with a client, a reading, something that really stood out for you, even kind of like wowed you?
Well, well, like I said, there's the one that I had wrote you about, but uh, I I had this one that I had worked with her before. She had set up for a mediumship, actually. That was what she had set up for, and we had made an appointment. And she was in fear because she was running late. And I do have a thing, because I say if they're late, blah, blah, blah. I just, I'm not that mean, so it depends, right? Depends. If I'm really busy, yeah. And but so it ended up, I'm messaging her, and I said, okay, tell me what's going on, and I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out. So I walk her through some of the things, and I tell her what to do, and I say, do this, and then now do that. And I said, do that. I said, as soon as you do all these things, I bet you the delay will stop, like the door will open. And it did. And so I'm preparing for the session. She goes, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I'm like, what? And I said, she says, I've been on the waiting list for 2 years for a doctor, and where I where I where I live is actually 4 years now, like, to actually get one. She said, and after you walk me through whatever, she said, I put it out there for a doctor. I want to have my own doctor. She said, this doctor came in the room and actually offered to be my doctor. So the doctor offered to be her doctor without her even having to ask them. So while I had walked her through the reason why that delay happened, that 2 year waiting list that what could have turned into 4 as a result of us working within the parameters of energy, the energy that was available to her, the universal principles that were there for her, and
Hmm.
my knowledge of them, I helped her to manifest that doctor offering.
Wow.
She didn't even have to ask.
So what did she have to do to bring that to her, that doctor to her? Did she have to do anything, or you kind of did the work?
I walked her through, but she had to follow, right? So I would say, I said, okay, let's do this. You got to breathe now, like, because it's a little bit tougher when you're not in peace, right? So let's do this. And I said, okay, I want you to realize there's the delay there is. So I'll give you an example in some other situations that help you to understand, because so I believe that you probably do too, with the way that you speak to spirit, like with your mom. So I sometimes one time I went for a car repair. Okay. And there's the car repair where you think, and there's the car repair where you're scared to know the answer to how much it's going to cost you. Right. So I remember that day I didn't put, I go in, I'm waiting for the guy. He says he's going to come out in a minute. I'm sitting there and I'm going, what? But I realized the reason why I was sitting there was I did not put it out there. See, if I hadn't put out what I wanted to happen, then it could have get thrown at me what he wanted. You see what I'm trying to say? Or what I was
Ah,
afraid of. Like, I was afraid he's going to charge me a lot, right? So I said, okay, well, I would prefer this repair only cost this or less. You see what I'm trying to say? So
I
as soon as I made the
completely do.
decision of that, as
Wow.
soon as
Um,
I put that out there, that's when he walked out.
that's well, that's manifesting.
Exactly. That's why, but I consider that's what I'm really good at, right? So I can see the potential of what's available for a person when maybe they can't, right? Because you see what I mean, like, or they have some limiting thoughts that are tied in there, so they can't see it. But it's easier for me to navigate through because I've been doing this for a long time. This is my reality, right? So
This is your purpose, and you found it.
yeah.
Uh, I've even tested manifestation, but just on a low level where I'm driving somewhere and it's like, oh, yeah, please make sure there's a space for me, one that's close. And I always say, if somebody needs it more than me, then please give it to them. And I'm going to say 90% of the time when I do it, there's a space. And many times it's in crowded areas where you wouldn't even think there was a space. I did it uh, last month. I was going somewhere. Never space. This town is crowded, little tiny area where the spaces are. I'm like, please make there be a space there. Just make there be a space. Show up, no space. I drive around and there's the valet. And I'm like, by the way, $49. I'm like,
Oh my God, yeah.
yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to go around one more time. So I around this section of cars, come around again. I'm parking in front where the valet is. And the valet guy's like looking at me. I'm like, just a minute, turn my head. And right there is two people kissing goodbye. Man gets in the vehicle. He's waiting a couple of minutes. I get out. I'm like, excuse me, are you leaving? He's like, yeah, right now. I'm like, thank you. It was the best space in the entire place. As a matter of fact, better than if I valeted because it was way more convenient. And of course, it was free. So it does work. You just have the faith and just test it. Test it. It works. It really does. But I see what you're saying about um, setting the intention. And it's what you even throw out there. Like to your point of the vehicle. I have an old busted up Jeep. I use it just for fun, kayaking, stuff like that. And so many times I'm like, yeah, you piece of junk, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Guess what?
It's not,
It started breaking down all the time.
it's got a
But
consciousness, right?
yeah, yeah. So I once it was fixed, now I treat it very well. I talk to it. I'm saying, I appreciate you. You're fun for me. I enjoy, where we go together. It runs like the first day it was made.
I make my appliances last forever, but you know what I mean? Like, well, because I started to take on animals, like, so like what, so I, I, I believe in my heart it's because of the fact that I do appreciate what they say, that the reason why things deteriorate is you're not focusing on them anymore. So the reason why like a house or something like that will deteriorate if it's a vacant is because there's nobody there focusing on it to give it
Mm.
life. You see what I'm trying to say? Because we
Oh yeah.
actually, like, I believe I ended up inheriting some of my grandmother's furniture, and there was a couch of hers that was beautiful for the whole time, and then it was downstairs. We had it there enough for even that long. It just started to fall apart because my grandmother wasn't there focusing on it anymore to keep it alive.
Well, doesn't that also apply to our bodies? If we don't focus on our bodies, we just, let it go, don't even think about, what we eat, exercise, all of that stuff. I know it's obvious and rhetorical, but what happens to a body? It starts breaking down.
Well,
Hmm.
it can. I know I've kind of shifted. I was very more obsessive before, but my poor body and I've gone through a little bit in this past few years, but it's still loving me, and thank God, because we've gone through a lot.
Hmm.
And
Gotcha. Wonderful talking with you, Rose. If somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe they want to ask you a question, get a reading, whatever, what's the best way?
so, well, I do want to share one more thing, if that's okay, is
Sure.
I do want them to understand that my work has become, I'm not just a reader and I'm not just a healer, I'm both. So sometimes my sessions can be a little bit longer. I feel like that when I grew exponentially, I really like to combine my energy work with a reading. So that way because if you've noticed, it's not just changing your thoughts, it's the energy around something, that helps things to move faster. So I just like to educate people a little bit more about that before. So my business is called The Perfect Rose, and my website is www.theperfectrose.ca. My email address is rose@theperfectrose.ca, and my phone number is 905-526-9694. And I look forward to serving you when the time is right. And I do pray for my clients to feel guided to work with me. I feel like when they feel drawn to my work, then, because when the universe is working on orchestrating an answer to a prayer, it's supposed to be beneficial for everyone concerned.
Wow. You run deep in a good way. And
I'm pretty deep too.
yes. And we just skimmed the surface today. Fabulous talking with you, Rose. Appreciate all your insight, and looking forward next time we might have a chance to get together.
Lots of love to you, Steve. And actually, my ex's name is Steve, and he passed away just at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was so close to him that I knew there was something going on with him before he passed.
What are the chances of my mom being Rose?
I know. I figure I better mention that to you. You're getting goosies. Yeah. Steve, I'll be honest with you. He was the love of my life. He was the only man I ever really lived with. And they didn't listen to me. And so I had to bug them for 2 days. They wouldn't listen. And that's the most painful part of my work is when a lot of people do not listen. So I have to be very aggressive. So even though I'm very kind and loving, I've had to become tough and aggressive when I know that there's something that needs to be addressed.
You feel it, you need to share it. That's what it is. And you're getting it for a reason. So wow.
Lots of love to Steve. And I definitely feel my higher self. I guess we definitely were supposed to do this.
And I'll bet you
if push them.
I'll bet you the synchronicities, if we keep hammering away, more will come up. I don't even doubt it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for another time. What astrological sign are you?
I jokingly say I have something in common with everyone because I was born a virgin. No, I'm a Virgo. You? What are you?
What are you? You're
a Virgo.
I'm a Virgo.
No, are you a Virgo too?
When's your birthday?
I'm the 20th.
All right, second.
Oh, you're two though too, because
there's a two.
Peacemakers. Yeah. We're both peacemakers.
Like I said, yes. Like I said, the more we hammer away at this,
honey, you just made my day.
I'm telling you, there's goosebumps. Wow. All right.
Thank you. Listen, lots of love, sweetie.
Best to you, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.